Welcome, Niklas, to METALLERIUM Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Wolf, this new album, and other things related to the metal scene. So, first of all, thanks a lot for your time. How have you been during this pandemic, during this situation, everything?
Well, the pandemic was, of course, we released Feeding the Machine exactly the same day that the whole of Europe closed down. So we had begun to tour. So we had been touring for a week, but then we had to just abort the whole tour and find flight tickets and go home. And then the album was lost in the pandemic. When it was released, people were occupied with all the craziness in the world. So it just went into a black hole, I guess. But also, from the positive side, the pandemic, it gave us a lot of more time to focus, to write and record the new album that we have out now. So if it wasn't for the pandemic, we wouldn't have been able to put out an album in such a short time. So in that regard, I mean, you gotta try to look at things from the positive side, I guess, and that's what I do now.
Okay, your fans did not have to wait for a long time for a new album. So when did you begin to work to work on Shadowland? Perhaps during this pandemic, what before? Who knows?
Actually, I started writing on the album in the end, because the Feeding the Machine album took a long time to record for various reasons, and during that recording, two members left, and it was all sort of chaos. And I felt that I need to just start writing music again, and I wanted to write something for myself. Maybe I was, for a solo album or for a different project that is not Wolf. Just write music for the love of music and expressing myself. And so I started writing, and the first song I wrote was actually Shadowland, and then I continued to write 3 more songs, and then we got Pontus and Johan in the band, and then I already had 4 songs. We finished the album and everything, went on tour, but then I played the songs for the other guys. I started to realize that maybe I have started to write the next Wolf album. So everybody liked the four songs, and we just continued from there to write together the rest of the album. So we had already a good head start when we started.
Mm-hmm. Also, how was the experience of composing and recording the new album in the middle of pandemic? Because this is a very strange thing to see, no?
Yeah, no problem at all, actually. No issue at all. I just, I live but where I live in Sweden, there's not many people. I could go home from the tour, start my day job the next day. At first I was sick because we caught the COVID thing, so everybody was sick. So I was home for 2 weeks. When I felt good again, I went to my day job, and I work mostly alone, and I don't meet many people, and I work outside. So I wasn't spreading any disease or anything. And then, sat in my home studio working like a maniac, and the other guys were working also, and we send each other stuff. Then we meet up for in the studio, and no issue at all with the pandemic for us. So it gave us more, focus, clarity, because there was nothing else going on. So we could focus on the music completely, and we weren't afraid of, meeting each other. We weren't isolated. Of course, if someone was sick, we stayed home, but other than that, we were quite, we were quite calm about the whole situation.
Oh, nice to hear that. So, talking about the past, the first Wolf album was released about 23 years ago. What's amazing. How do you feel about this new release in comparison with the new times where you were releasing your debut? Also, did the way you work on your album change much during the time? Because 23 years is a long time.
Oh yes, it has changed a lot. In the beginning, we were like 3 outside outsider guys in Sweden in the mid-90s when grunge and other music genres were cool and metal was absolutely not okay to play. You couldn't do it. So we were in that kind of, it was like we against the world, and we did our thing. We were actually rehearsing in the basement, and the outside world was a completely different thing. We just wrote our songs, and we wrote it mostly. I mean, I wrote a lot of stuff at home and sometimes together with a bass player, but actually mostly we wrote, the drummer, the bass player and we wrote together in rehearsal at the rehearsal room. It was very cool, and we thought that was kind of normal procedure, but actually I've come to realize now it's very, very uncommon, and it's a difficult way of writing, and you really have to have a good certain chemistry in the band, and we had that, and we weren't afraid to criticize and say what we thought, because no one took it personally. We really cared about the music, but if someone told me that riff sucks, I didn't take it personally and you know, as an insult. It was like, okay. So it was a very different collaboration. Then, you know, the original drummer left, and we started. I kind of had a need to write also more by myself, to write songs, because I'm a drummer, I'm a bass player, I'm a guitar player, I'm a composer, I am a lyricist, I am a singer. I can do all of that stuff, and I have so much, you know, creativity in me that wants to get out. And it's great to collaborate and write with other people, but it's also great to kind of let yourself, you know, try to be open to things that come to you, you know. So I had a need to write more by myself. So the Black Flame was kind of a new chapter in Wolf, where I took a lot of the writing, wrote a lot of songs by myself and a lot of songs with the other guys, but not in that same way that we were three guys together with instruments in a rehearsal room, because by then it wasn't that kind of band anymore. We had a drummer who lived like 3-4 hours from where we lived, and also a guitar player lived far away. So we had to change the way we wrote, and actually it suited me kind of fine, actually, because I like to work in the studio, and when I write, I like to record what I write, so I can hear if it feels good, you know, if I like it. So, and that's also is how we write now, and even more now, because now I am the only guy who lives in Örebro, where we started the band. And the other guys, we have 3 other members now, they live in Stockholm, so we have to send each other ideas over the internet, and everybody in the band has his own home studio. And Simon, he has the main studio where we recorded everything, and he has kind of a top-notch old school music recording studio. So and now, you know, with the internet and everything, it is so much easier to work this way, and it would be actually impossible for us to work old school, meeting up every time, because we have jobs, we have families, we have so much obligation. We're not 20 years anymore, you know. We're not 20-year-old kids that don't have anything besides the music. There's a lot of adult responsibility now. So, but I mean, every way of working and every way of having a band, there's no right and no wrong. It's just different way of doing things, and all different ways, I think, have their pros and cons. But I'm quite happy how everything works now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Talking about this matter, as many fans, many reviewers, a lot of people thinks, as you know about this because you're a fan too from the heavy metal too. So when a band released their first album, all media, all fans, wow, this is the best album that I got from them, amazing. The second one, wow, a lot of sound into there. This is for the reviewers, for the fans, for the etc. But usually for the band, the last work is the best work for them. So
Yeah.
if we try to relate these concepts for you, What do you think about this? The first album for the reviewers are the best ones from Wolf, and now for the band, the Shadowland is the best album for Wolves.
Well, actually, I thought that the it's very interesting. Number one is that when you release your third or fourth album, then you start to compete with yourself.
Yes.
And you have so many fans that they discovered you with your second album, and that's their album, and nothing you do can top it. It's the same for me when I listen to the old Iron Maiden album. Nothing that Iron Maiden does now. For me, it's like Peace of Mind is a masterpiece of all masterpieces. So I understand that I'm now in that position that a band has been here for a long time, and people maybe discovered with Evil Star, and that's the one. But personally, I think that the Black Flame is from the back catalog is probably my favorite album. But also, I have to say Black Wings as well. But it's really hard for me because I'm so emotionally attached to, and every album and even every song is a part of my life and a part of of my whole lifespan and upbringing and changes, because as a human being you change, you evolve, you change, and for me, when I hear certain songs and certain albums, it's a period of my life, and it's like going back in time and visit the younger you.
Mm.
And but of course the latest album is always the best.
Yeah.
But when you work so intensely with something you created, it feels fresh, it feels like this is timeless, this is our masterpiece. And actually I thought that Feeding the Machine, I felt really proud of that album. Thought it was great work, and it was maybe not I could understand that people. It was a kind of maybe a difficult album to. You had to listen to it many times to really get the album. But for me, I thought it was a very special album. But that's because I was so emotionally attached to it. Because it was the whole writing of that album for me was like a whole big therapy session I used. Because I had some really bad shit in the past that I tried just to ignore and bury, but after 20 years, it just came back to me, and I knew that I have to dig up this ugly beast and face it again. And that's what I did with the Feeding the Machine album. But now, when I'm completely over that album, I don't care about that album at all, actually. So it's very, very strange. So now for me, Feeding the Machine album is it's over and done with. It's in the past. But the new album feels very exciting, new. And I actually, you can never be quite sure, but I think if you ask me in 10 years time, I think I will say that Shadowland is one of the Wolf album I like the most, but you never know.
Yeah.
So
Yes. So returning to the last album, what can we expect in terms of sound and lyrics from this new Shadowland in comparison with the previous record? What was your inspiration for this new album?
well, I didn't want to write. It's more melodic musically. It's way more melodic. On the Feeding the Machine album, it's more like all the choruses are more like thrash metal choruses. This one has more melodies in it, and for me, it's a way more positive album, and it's absolutely After I did the Feeding the Machine, wrote all the lyrics and wrote most of the music and the songs, it was like after that I didn't felt the need to write as a therapy session for myself and to heal myself. This time I just wanted to write music for the love of music and exploring, a bit more like explore. It's not. This wasn't a therapy session. It was more like an exploring session. Exploring the mythical sides of being a human being and the mystical sides of life, and what's around the corner. We don't know what's out there in the universe. We don't know, and for how long are we here? Probably not forever. Even the Earth has a lifespan, and I was thinking about all these big questions, and these questions are the album, but it's no answers. It's only questions. The answers is for yourself to find out.
Okay.
I think so, and well, I think it's a more positive album, and I enjoyed myself more. It was the easiest album I've ever recorded and wrote with Wolf. It was very easy to compare to the other ones, and partly it's because we had a studio built, a top-notch studio. Simon is a great engineer. I can also work in the studio. Pontus is also a great engineer, so we didn't need much outside help. Everybody is a very, very good musician in the band now. I mean, Pontus, Johan, and Simon, they are, fuck me. I mean, I have to pinch myself in the arm sometimes. Am I really have found these guys? I mean, it's so it's very easy to work, and also we get along very, very well. It's not a lot of friction in the band. Of course, we are four strong-willed guys, and everyone wants to do their best, and everyone has opinion. But it has been a very pleasant journey, this album, and I hope it will stay that way. And it's also very inspiring to write music for me with these musicians in the band that instantly get, if I have an idea, they instantly get my idea, and they just make it better, and that's it feels like luxury for me.
Nice to hear that. So I think the singles are important to have a strong impact on fans, especially in these times when there is a lot of competition on internet. And in this case, it seems that Wolf always delivers great songs, and Dust is not the exception. So how do you choose your singles, and also the order of the songs for an album?
Well, I have very strong opinions, and maybe I shouldn't, because I'm so attached to the songs. It's such a part of me that maybe it would be better if an outsider came and say, this should be the single, this should be that. But I have a very strong sense of the album as a whole, lyrically, thematically, and musically. And I just thought that we decided to release actually 4 singles and videos for this one. And partly of that is because if we cannot go out play live because of pandemic or other stuff in the world, at least we can reach out and entertain people with the videos and make an impact, be seen. So we'll release 4 singles, and the first one, Dust, I chose because I think it's I really like that song, how it turned out, and I think it's it has that kind of the Wolves Are Back feeling. It's a classic up-tempo Wolf song, that's what we're known for, the up-tempo stuff, the fast songs, even if we don't only play fast songs nowadays, like on the Black Wings era. But I think it's a catchy and very, cool guitar riffs that people like, that people associate with Wolf, and also I like how we play with different harmonies and the different melodies and everything. So I just thought it was a great album opener and the first single.
Okay. The album cover was done again by Thomas Holm. How do you pick up the cover for the new album?
Thomas Holm, we've worked with him for a long time now,
Yeah.
and he's getting old. He's like in his 60s, and he told us that I'm not working as hard anymore. I can't keep up the pace I do, the paintings I want to do, and I usually I call him up or I email him and I discuss the themes of the songs and my thoughts of the songs, so he get a feeling for it. And because I write songs, you know, as a way of dealing with stuff in life, and as a way of, you know, stuff that happens in the world as well. I need to digest it, and, you know, because I think a lot of stuff that happens in the world, I care about people in the world, and I think the world is a kind of a sad place now. And he does the same, but he does it with oil paintings. So usually, if we haven't talked about in 5 years, it turns out that we have been thinking about similar stuff and working, you know, digging into ourselves, you know, soul searching on similar topics. And this time he had this painting already painted, and I told him the title and everything. He sent us 4 paintings to look at, and this was it, you know. And I knew that, well, everybody loved it, and it just felt so right with the titles, and I felt it had the atmosphere that I associate with the title song. So it was like, I guess it was just a lucky match. The music and the painting, just, it was great together. And I also like how it turned out, because this album cover, this oil painting, is very old school. It could be from an album cover from 1984, I think. So that's also very cool. It's timeless, you know. Wolf is an old school traditional band, but we never try to be retro. It's not a, you know, we don't care if we're retro or what it is. We just want to play the music that we like. So I try to be timeless. Of course, you can never be timeless, but I try to, and I think this album cover looks timeless. You know, it could be 2022, it could be 1984. You know.
Okay. After releasing the album, what are your plans? How is the situation for metal scene now in your country?
It's starting to open up. Our plan. We had tours. Were all canceled during the pandemic, and it's been very hard for our booking agent to book some new shows, because all the promoters are so afraid that if they book a show, something will happen in the world, or a new wave of the pandemic will rise, and you know, it's very hard to book. And also everything is 2 years behind, so festivals and everything is really hard to book. So we have a plan of booking, you know, because everything is open up in Sweden, Spain, and Portugal especially. We focus on there to go and do very short tours, like Thursday to Sunday, and then go home, and then go back for another Thursday to Sunday in like different parts of Europe. That's the plan now. That's how we will start now, and because we cannot sit around wait for tour offers for bigger bands or something, because it's not a time to sit around and wait. It's time to take action. So that's the plan now. That's where we start, and then we'll see what will happen.
Mhm. Also, from your perspective, how do you see the metal scenes around the world? When you began in 1995, heavy metal was not as popular as the 80s. But now there are a lot of young bands keeping the traditional heavy metal alive. So have you had the chance to listen some of these new bands, or perhaps do you recommend someone?
Yeah, kind of the band I recommend people listen to is the Swedish band RAM, RAM. They were actually also very, very early. They came out, I think, just right after Wolf. So I guess if Wolf hadn't been kind of the first band to arise, I think Ram would have been that band. And they are still going strong. Very, very high quality. It's more like if when we started, we were a lot of inspired by Iron Maiden, you know, that kind of sound. Ram was more Judas Priest, you could say, but really, really good band. And I mean, in recent years, there's so many bands that I kept track. I can't keep track of them, and I just, you know, encourage everyone to listen to every band, you know, and go to as much shows, you know, support. If you find a band you like, support that band and try to find more. I mean, music makes everybody, it makes the world a better place, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, especially metal, I think, because metal is dark, it's brutal, it's aggressive, it's I mean, it it gets, for me, since I discovered metal, I am a much more happier person because I get my aggression and I get my evil, my darkness out of my system with the music.
Yeah.
And when you go to a metal festival, you meet a lot of wonderful, lovely people that are happy and content. And I think that, you know, this aggressive music, many people don't understand this. Many people think that it's an awful kind of music because it's so dark and aggressive and sometimes satanic and everything. But I think it's a positive side. It's like you get the aggression out of your system through the music. So I encourage everyone to, you know, buy the albums from all the bands you like, go to the concerts from all the bands, support your band, but buy the merch because it's a very difficult nowadays to keep a band because of it's very expensive to live and like everyone in Wolf, for now we have full-time day jobs and at least one day job. So it's very, the more people that supports the band, the easier it is for band to continue to create music and to be able to afford better production, and everyone, you know, benefits from that. So
Okay, okay. So we are very close to end this interview, and in addition, there is also a revival of vinyl, which is interesting because bands don't sell as many records as the ending in the 80s, for example. So, but now we have a lot of people buying vinyls. So, what is your opinion about this? And what is your favorite physical format to listen on an album? Vinyl, CD, tape, or perhaps digital?
oh, actually, I love that vinyl is back. I remember because I'm born in '73 and I started to listen to, well, I started to listen to my dad's vinyls. I the first music I liked was the Shadows and the Ventures, that kind of surf guitar rock that my dad has. That was before I even heard metal. And then I discovered metal, and I begged for Christmas. I wanted Live After Death with the Iron Maiden fold out album, and you know, I put, you know, took out the vinyl, put it on the record, you know, player, put on the needle on and my headphones on, and I sat with this wonderful gatefold. I looked at all the pictures, read all the thank lists. I mean, it's a vinyl is a special feeling that you cannot beat. Uh, but nowadays, because lack of time and I listened, actually, I love all formats. Vinyls are for the feel. CDs are great for the quality. Nowadays, CDs are better because they are mastered and produced for CDs. So CDs sound better now, I think, than they used to be. And I also love the digital streaming because of the convenience and because it's so easy to discover new music,
Yeah.
and you get like a plethora of music. The downside is that people don't care anymore. It's not so special to release an album. That's the downside. But the positive side, I think, is that I can, because I don't have time to sit down. I'm a father, I have kids, I have work, I have Wolf. My time goes to write and record music mostly. But so I listen mostly to music in my kitchen when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm preparing dinner, and all where I'm out working. That's when I listen to music. And the streaming services, they should be criticizing size because we don't get money from them, you know. But it's also a great tool for people to discover new bands. So I think, you know, every format have their pluses and minus, the pros and cons. But the music has only cons.
Okay.
Only pros, I mean,
Only
of
pros,
course.
only pros.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, Niklas, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one as I did, and thank you very much for your time. You're an amazing guy to talk. I hope someday we'll meet you, face to face, because and cheers some beers. Perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and METALLERIUM readers?
Oh yes, I mean I've heard so much about Latin America that we have never played in Latin America, and we really it's on my bucket list to go there because of the metal fans, and I can feel even when I'm talking to you I can feel the enthusiasm for metal, so it's something I hope to experience before I die. So and it's you see it on the internet as well from the fans, the response when you release something. So I also really hope I can meet you in person and a lot of more fans from that part of the world. It's like for us it would be a dream to come true, at least for me, because I've never been there. So I also hope we'll meet someday.
Okay, thank you very much again, Niklas, and congratulations for the new album. And